Now we left off here where we had substituted a negative value into a quadratic, and it made us realize we have to be very careful when we substitute negatives into quadratics. So that's going to we have to keep that in mind, when we're graphing this f of x equals x squared, because this is a quadratic expression and we have to do some negative values into it. Okay, so let's think about this. If you put in 0, hopefully everybody knows that that's 0, right? No problems, no trouble. 0 squared is 0. Okay. 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16. You're thinking, where's the tricky part? Okay, but negative 1 squared, let's think about that. Negative 1 squared is actually positive 1, right? So this is positive 1. There. What about negative 2? Well, that's what we just did in the problem above, but negative 2, when you square it, it's negative 2 times negative 2, which is positive 4. Negative 3 squared would be negative 3 times negative 3, which is positive 9. Hopefully you're noticing a pattern here. And negative 4 squared is negative 4 times negative 4, which is positive 16. And I stopped right there. I didn't do any decimals because, I mean, you could do 0.23. You could, right? But you wouldn't want to. And then I stopped right there because my grid stopped at negative 4. But I mean, you could keep going. 5 squared, 6 squared, and so on. All right, so now we're going to plot those points and draw the curve that matches it. And I already did it. It's right here. So let me paste it in. I did it with a slightly different program, so I don't have the every 4 marks gets an extra thick line, but you get the general idea. And technically it keeps going. There should be arrows at the end here because it keeps going and going and going forever. Okay? Now, I also want to remind you that you can back up yourself with your calculator. So let me go to y equals, clear out this thing that I had from chapter 5. Notice plot 1 is not on because I don't need a scatter plot right now, and I'm just going to do x squared. Squared button's right there. Or you could do x caret 2 if you like. X caret is over here on the right, 2. That will also work. And if I go to my table, and I kind of scroll up for a second, I should get the same numbers that I did when I got it by hand. And honestly, you could have done it with your calculator in the first place. I was just reminding you of multiplying negative powers, or negative numbers to even powers and odd powers on your own, right? So to even powers, excuse me. So there they are backing us up, and then if I graph it, zoom standard, I'll see some of what I wanted. If I wanted to change my window, negative 4 to 4, and then negative 4 to 16, I think it was, I could do that. And it should look like what we graphed when we, see? Look at that. Just like what I've got here on the computer paper. All right, so that's a reminder. This is a special graph that we should know, so I'll make a note of it down here. So note, there it is. X squared has a parabola-shaped graph. That's the name of this shape. Looks kind of like a U, right? And it goes on forever and ever and ever. It's got arrows up there at the top. All quadratics, honestly, all things that are to the 2 power, x is to the 2 power. If that's the highest degree you have, then it will always make a parabola graph. And we're going to deal more with that later on in this chapter. Okay, so now that we know what quadratics graph like, we're going to find the sum and difference functions. So a sum function gets written like f plus g, but it really means f plus g of x. That's not times x, it's of x. It's f of x plus g of x. And f minus g, the fast way to write it is f minus g, because mathematicians are lazy, so that's the way they write it. But what they really mean is f of x minus g of x, like this. Okay, so we're going to find an equation for f minus g, and here's f and here's g. So f minus g is really f minus g of x, which is really f of x minus g of x. Oops. Okay, so then, let me grab my functions here so I can see them. Okay, all right, so I want to take f of x, which is equal to 3x squared minus 7x plus 2. And I want to subtract away g of x, which is negative 6x squared plus x minus 5. You want to subtract the entire thing. It doesn't say take away the first term of g. No, it says take away all of g of x. So the best way to do this is to put parentheses around it so you don't forget. So this is 3x squared minus 7x plus 2. Nothing changes on the front term. But then it's plus 6x squared because you want a minus 6. And then minus x and then plus 5. Right? Don't forget, distribute the negative. Okay. And now all you have to do is combine like terms. So let's see, you've got a 3x squared plus a 6x squared. Sorry, I'm going to put little arrows under these so we can see them. They're like terms. So 3x squared plus 6x squared makes 9x squared. Then we have a minus 7x right here and a plus, or excuse me, a minus x in the back. I'm going to give it double lines. This one and this one are like terms. So that makes minus 8x and then plus 7 because 2 and 5 make 7. There we go. That is what f minus g of x is. Don't forget to distribute the negative. That is the big mistake people make on this problem. Right? It's not f minus part of g, it's f minus all of g. You have to distribute the negative for that. And then they want f minus g of 2, so all you're going to do is take your function that you found. All right, here's f minus g. Here, I'll put it right here. See if that helps. There we go. So f minus g is right here. And I'm going to take that function, I'm going to put 2 into it. So f minus g of x is this. So f minus g of 2 would be to put 2 in here. So every time there was an x, I'm going to put a 2. Like that. Okay. All right, so that makes it equal to 9 times 4, because 2 squared is 4, minus 16, because 8 times 2 is 16, plus 7. So this is 36 minus 16 plus 7, and that's 27. And I'm doing that in my head, but of course you can use your calculator to help you. Okay, so now that we know how to find the difference function, and the addition function's even easier, so I didn't bother doing that one, and then we know how to substitute into it, what does it mean? So if you take the difference, and that difference is positive, that means that A was more than B. And if the difference is negative, that means that A is less than B. So let's remind ourselves, in section 3.1, we modeled the market shares of light vehicle sales for Toyota and GM. F of t was Toyota, GM was G of t, respectively. By this system, we already found this way back in section 3.1. And t was the number of years since 1990. So first thing it wants us to do is find the sum functions. So we're going to add them up. So I'm going to add f of t plus g of t. Cool. So I've got them. There they are. Oopsie. Here. Okay, so this one's going to be a little bit simpler than the one we did before because I don't have to worry about distributing a negative or anything like that. Okay, minus 0.35t plus 32.25, and then we're just going to combine like terms. 0.65t take away 0.35t right there means that together we get 0.3t plus, and then that makes 35.50, I believe, if you add these two numbers up. Again, you could just use your calculator to help yourself. All right, so there's your function. That's f plus g of t. That's what it is. Boom. Oops, hold on. I only want this part boxed. Apparently it's going to make my equal sign all wonky. Okay, so now when you add them up, f plus g of 24, what does it mean in the situation? Okay, so you're going to take the function you just had, which is right here, 0.3t plus 35, and you're going to put 24 into it. So you want f plus g of 24. So instead of 0.3t, you're going to have 0.3 of 24. not multiplying by 24, it's of 24. So that's equal to 0.3 times 24. Oh, let me grab a calculator. 0.3 times 24 makes 7.2. So this is 7.2 plus 35.5. If I add 35.5 to it, you could have done it all at once as well. I just wanted to show how to do it. There we go. We get 42.7. Okay. Now we have to explain what it means. So remember, your variable here was time. So this would be in about 2004, right? Or 2014, I'm sorry, I'm losing my mind. So in about 2014, because if you take, you're wondering how did I do that? Well, if you take 1990 and you add 24 to it, you get 2014. Okay, as a matter of fact, I'll make a note. So note 1990 plus 24 equals 2014. Okay, so in about 2014, what can we say? GM and Toyota together, because we added them, so we combined them together, should account, because this is the future, should account for about 42.7%, because market share is a percentage of the light vehicle market. And there we go. Now, if you subtracted them, like if you took Toyota minus GM, then you'd find out, hey, Toyota was bigger in this year because it's positive, or Toyota was smaller in this year because it's negative. That kind of thing. All right, we are all done with that example, and we're done with that section. So I'll see you back here for 6.2, which is when we get to multiply. All right, see you then.